Welcome to today's episode of Molecules to Medicine. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are AI Jules, and we specialize in helping healthcare and life science companies scale their business and revenue and explore how AI is reshaping the industries and accelerating innovation. So if you want to learn more about how to take your business to the next level, make sure you stick around, and if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop us the word growth in the DMs and we'll get back to you. I'm your host Hardib, and we have a very exciting guest for you today, Suja Naqvi, the CEO from Biopharma Informatics. Welcome, Suja.
Thank you, Hardib, for having me on the podcast. Looking forward to it.
Great. And where are you talking to us from today?
So I'm based out of Houston, Texas, more precisely within Houston, in Richmond, Texas.
Okay, fantastic. So Suja, tell us a bit about your background and the journey that led you to Biopharma Informatics, and any pivotal moments or experience that shaped your career.
Yeah, so I've been very blessed to be in the position that I am in. So just a quick background, Biopharma Informatic, we are a clinical research site network, and we're based out of Houston. But I was very blessed to be in a position. It's a family business. My father started it in 2010. And I went into it right out of high school. So, at that time we had one site and one physician. Over the course of last 16 years, we've been able to grow it out into 11 other states now with 44 locations. The journey has been amazing, and seeing it grow from inception has been fantastic to see. A lot of ups and downs within that process, but again, all of that has been a great learning curve for me personally and for the business itself.
Oh, fantastic! And tell us a bit about Biopharma Informatics. About what do you do and who do you do it for?
Yeah, so Biopharma Informatic, we're essentially a site network. We partner up with CROs and sponsors, and what they do is they will provide us with clinical research protocols that they're investigating any new drugs. And then our responsibility, along with our principal investigators, which are our physicians, our doctors that are contracted with us, under their supervision, we're able to conduct those clinical trials, recruit different subjects or patients in those clinical trials, depending on the criteria that have been given to us. And then we collect that data, collect those samples, and report that back to the pharmaceutical companies for them to do their data analysis, and then submit that data to the FDA when it comes time for getting approvals for their respective drugs or devices or vaccines, whatever it can be.
Okay, fantastic. So you conduct the clinical trials in your sites, and in terms of the patient recruitment, is that the responsibility of Biopharma Informatics?
Yes,
to find the patients?
Yeah, so that itself, that's a whole other topic on the recruitment aspect of it, and I love it. At the end of the day, that's what drives the business. But yeah, we are responsible for recruiting subjects along with our physicians. The physicians play a very important role in everything that we do, especially recruitment.
Okay, brilliant. And what problem does bioinformatics solve, and why does that matter to your clients?
Yeah, one of the biggest hurdles in drug development is a timely completion of a clinical trial, and most trials do not get completed on time because of recruitment. And it is difficult. Recruitment is not easy, and it does take a while to find the right subject, to retain those subjects. One thing is getting somebody to agree to participate in a clinical trial, and the second half of that is, do they actually qualify in those trials? And once they do qualify in those trials, if it's a 5-year study, retaining somebody for 5 years is not an easy task. So that's the part that we play, and bringing in those subjects, retaining those subjects, collecting that data, and then we saw that there's so many therapies that are coming out. We're seeing all of these GLPs doing wonders for people. All of that went through clinical trials to see how safe they were, how effective they are, and how they compete against each other as well. So doing all of that before our physicians can just write us a prescription and we can go to a local pharmacy and pick up that medication. So the whole process before that, to make it safe, make it effective, that's the part that we play.
Okay, fantastic. And can you share any real examples of how your customers use yourselves to achieve meaningful results?
As I mentioned, right, we did, and we're currently doing a lot of these weight loss trials just to see. One thing is just, and I know it's a buzzword, and a lot of people are utilizing it in different ways, but weight loss is a disease. Obesity is a disease, right? So now it's not just about losing weight. It has so many other benefits, right? So if you lose weight, what effect does it have on your cardiovascular health, on your kidney health, on your knee pain, on your back pain, on your fatty liver, substance abuse? There's so many different things. So, being at the forefront of that, being able to see all of that, that's amazing. And that's one example. Another example, there's so many different examples. We've done trials where, they're trying to develop an oral drug testing kit, right? Instead of doing the standard of care urine drug testing, an oral test might be so much more easier as well to conduct. So a lot of different opportunities, a lot of different trials.
Fantastic. Facing as a business today.
The biggest challenges, I would say, there's challenges at every different level. I know that everybody is trying to solve that problem with AI as well and everything that's going on. But I think one of the challenges from an operational perspective is there's too many systems, right? So at the very ground level, there's folks that are having to work on maybe 5 different portal systems that they have to go update with pretty much identical information. So the time that it takes to operate a clinical trial, and which is in a way, trying to optimize that, trying to make it more efficient by introducing different systems, but then that's also causing a lot of lag because the systems don't talk to each other. So if I have to sum it up in one sentence, I think the biggest obstacle is that there's a lot of great systems in place, but none of them talk to each other.
Yes, I've noticed that myself, especially in big companies, big pharma companies. You get asked a question by a senior management, and then you have to go into 3 or 4 different systems to get that data and then compile it together. So that's one of the things that I'm trying to get life science companies to do, is to use AI at least to help people like myself in those companies make their life a little bit easier and streamline their workflow so they can focus on the more important things, which is, the data and the patients. What do
you think is the biggest challenge in that? Why, you've had that background. Sorry, I'm asking you a question, but what is your take? If you worked at a couple of very large organizations, you have that background. The solutions, are the solutions out there where the systems can talk to each other? And B, if there are, why aren't more companies, especially these larger companies, why aren't they making those changes where the systems are integrated?
Well, it requires building the systems for them to talk to each other. None of the systems are developed with a universal language that they can plug into each other. It's very similar to like Apple and Google. They can't, and they sometimes design it that way as well. But with AI, with the applications that are out there, you can build now tools from things that are already out there to talk to one system, to bring information from that system, to bring information from that system, and you give it the instructions of what to do with that information, tailored to the outcome that you want. So that can really help, quickly. Once you've built it, every morning, for example, if somebody asks you a question, that you have to normally go into 3 or 4 different systems and download 3 or 4 different reports, and you should be able to do that from a click of a button, right? And the AI system can then pull that information from there, take out the necessary information, pull the information out from somewhere else. For example, you've got an EDC system, and you need that information about where a subject possibly is along a certain timeline. So this is where AI can really help streamline, save time, and really push and accelerate workflows, really. And also, that will have a good impact on the timelines of the clinical trial. If people are concentrating more on producing quality data rather than reading and downloading reports, that can have an impact on patient outcome.
No, absolutely. I just saw something. I think it happened maybe a couple of days ago where one of the e-source companies and an EDC company, they just had a collaboration where now, from our perspective, again, what you talked about, the question that you asked, data entry is a big challenge, right? So you're seeing the patient, you're collecting that data. At the end of the day, we are in the business of data. So there is a lot of data that we're working with. Yeah. Now, entering all of that data is a big task. Not a challenge, but is a big task. So both of them, they just, I think, had some sort of integration where now when you enter the data into the source document, it will automatically get pushed into the EDC. Things like that. If that can happen, that would solve so many problems.
It would, yes. The only problems with things like that is talking to an EMR system is your HIPAA compliance and GDPR compliance, where you've got an external system that's talking to, sensitive private information of a patient, and then because then you've got this third party, which is why a lot of the sort of the EDC companies are building these sort of systems that have the finances for it, to be honest, because
Yeah.
the cost of building something like that that's compliant with the security protocols to build that, the costs are extremely high. But they're working on it, which is good. But it's going to be your big companies that can afford to take these on as well. Because of the cost of developing them, that cost actually is going to be passed on, right, to those big sponsors and those big CROs who could potentially afford to use them. So yeah, because good question.
Yeah, see, there are companies. There's actually several now. If you go to a conference and you go to the exhibit hall, it's filled with either I would say 80% is like tech companies, and it's either CTMS platforms or different. So I know there's a couple of companies that are developing that from information to go directly from the EMR into the EDC. Now that would depend on there's so many different factors, right? Or as you mentioned. But again, I think going from a source document, an electronic source document to EDC, I think that should be doable. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. We're doing something. We're always experimenting as well. So we're working with a close partner right now to develop how we can automatically identify eligible subjects from the EMR without manually looking at it. So based on ICD codes, lab reports, imaging reports, progress notes, if the AI can read all of that, there's a lot of companies that have developed it or they are developing it as well. But again, I think that's going to be an interesting piece in the future as well. I think we're probably around, as an industry, maybe 70% over there. The issue that comes around with those things is, AI can only read the data that's there. If the data does not exist, then AI cannot read it. Or if the data is not good, then that's what you're going to receive on the output of it as well. So I think over time, as those things improve, I think that is going to be, at least for our business model, I think that would be a game changer.
Yes, definitely. And there are companies out there. I've spoke to one company actually, and that's what they've done is they've built a system that talks to the EMR, not really for eligibility, but it can be used for that same purpose as well, where it looks at all the labs and all that data to pull out those right sort of subjects. So yeah, there are many companies out there working on it. Yeah. The future is definitely looking very promising with that in that sense. And what makes bioinformatics different from others trying to solve this same problem?
That's an interesting question, because you get that a lot because there's a lot of companies that have formed. A lot of them are doing a great job as well. I think what sets us apart, and again, I don't know, others might say the same thing, but for us, it's not just a business; it's legacy. So I personally care about every little small detail. If an email within the organization not being responded to in a timely manner, to all the way up to a very big decision, right? So everything that we do on a daily basis, we do deeply care about the patients that we serve, the physicians that we partner up with, the sponsors and the CROs that we partner up with. I think that's one thing. And then second thing I would say is the growth mindset. Taking clinical research to communities that don't have access or that have not been represented well enough in the past. We just expanded out into Hawaii. When you look at the FDA mandates, they want more Native Americans and more Hawaii Pacific Islanders in clinical trials. So not a lot of companies have done that, but again, what better place to find Hawaii Pacific Islanders than in Hawaii itself. So, we decided to open up a site over there. We're looking at collaborations with Native American tribes as well. So I think just from what sets us apart, there's a lot of clinical trial networks. There's a lot of companies that are doing fantastic work. But I think the why behind it, not just from that this is a job, this is a business, but this is legacy. This is something that we want to grow. And then also at the end of the day, being patient advocates first, taking these opportunities, taking these trials to the subjects, to the communities, if it's through digital marketing or if it's through actually, boots on the ground, whatever it may be, we're willing to and looking forward to investing in those areas to grow that as well.
It's interesting what you mentioned there about there's definitely an opportunity with recruitment in ethnic minority backgrounds. Actually, I think there's a cultural barrier sometimes with certain communities wanting to join clinical trials, and there's a lot of the times these clinical trials are producing data which is misrepresented with the population within the trial that's actually going to be using the drug. So I've actually spoke to another company that's heavily involved in that her main business is around actually training ethnic minority groups on clinical trials. He's even wrote a book about it, actually, to try and get the underrepresented populations to use these clinical trials and try to break some of those myths that may be out there in the community. So definitely a worthwhile opportunity there.
Yeah, we started, that's a big part of it, it's a trust factor. A lot of these communities they do not trust the medical system, they don't trust research. A lot of folks don't trust research, one of the things, the commonly used phrase is, I'm not a guinea pig. I don't want to be tested on. But again, it's very important for them to understand not just what this is, but why. Just something so simple as you get sick, doctor writes you a prescription, you go to the pharmacy, you pick it up. Nobody thinks about how that medication got there. So many people themselves so you can easily access that medication. So I think that trust factor is really important. And again, I'm not sure if this is something similar that what you just mentioned, but about a year ago we started Biopharma Academy of Clinical Research. Because another challenge that we face is finding good research coordinators, clinical research coordinators. So essentially this is something we were doing for a long time, where we were training people and then we would hire them. But again, now we've formalized that and something that can be access anywhere in the world. Online modules where anybody can learn the basics of clinical research coordinator role, and then once if they pass the online exam, then we bring them on to one of our research centers sites, provide them with on-site training, and then we end up hiring a lot of those individuals as well. So especially working with the Hawaii Pacific Islanders, within the Hawaii communities, within the Native American tribes. This is something that we are offering as well, that we are going to be training their local community members to be clinical research coordinators. So if we're running a clinical trial with a Native American population and we're recruiting those subjects, if they see somebody on the other side that looks like them, that talks like them, I think there might be a better trust factor in them understanding what it is, and maybe that person is able to explain things a lot better than somebody who's not from their community as well. So that's another thing that we've started, and we're looking forward to expanding as we grow.
Sounds good. And on what stage is Bioinformatics at right now? What does growth look like for you over the next 12 months or a few years?
Yeah, no, I think for the last 4 years we've been steadily growing. So I think growth for us, there's a lot of different ways to look at growth. Yes, we are growing the number of sites that we have. So, as I mentioned, we've just started out some new territories. So I think filling those with good trials, I think that's going to be a good indicator of growth. Second thing is, for me personally, that I look at as a growth of the company is how many individuals within the company we were able to promote and grow them professionally as well. Because if individuals within our company are growing, that means the company is growing itself automatically as well. So I'm hoping that at the end of this year, we're able to do some good promotions for a couple of individuals and give them more responsibility as well, and develop more leaders within the organization. Apart from that, I think, we're on the right track. We're doing all the right things. We're doing all the great work. So I think it's just about making sure we keep our head down and keep focusing on good quality work. And I think results will, good positive results will come itself. Once you do that, then more opportunities open up, better relationship with sponsors, with CROs that enable you to recruit better and better trials that match the patient population. And once that ecosystem, everything is working within that ecosystem, then it's just about letting it mature on its own as well with the right time.
Fantastic. And where can people learn more about Bioinformatics or get in touch with you or your team?
Yeah, so if somebody wants to get in touch with me, LinkedIn is going to be a good space for that. Apart from that, our website, biopharmainfo.net, that has a lot of the information. Our company page on LinkedIn, we try to keep that quite active as well with a lot of updates. And then we're on all social media, so Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So whatever makes you happy, I will be able to provide you information through those platforms. But if still anybody has any questions, they can always reach out to me.
Well, thank you very much, Suja. That was very interesting. And all the best for the business. And I'll keep a lookout.
Thank you so much for having me.